Welcome to the Borderlands Trail and Ultra Running Podcast. My name is Josh, the host. I'm the founder. Today I'm with Wolfie of Wolfie's World. We are going to review this trail running league that we've been working on, send out a survey. We got a lot of people reaching out with a lot of ideas. And so we want to work through some of that, talk through some of that today because we are headed toward actually doing this thing. But we've got some details to work out. So we're going to work it out together and then open it up to you all because we want to hear more from you all as we start to shape this. Also, as you recall from last episode, we did an open cattle call for a debate about Western states. You got to come debate Wolfie. We got a candidate. We're going to review that candidate. We're going to talk a little bit about that for a minute. And then also Tarawera, some really interesting outcomes from Tarawera. And Wolfie's going to break that down from you of why that matters. It's not simply a race recap. It's the implications of the outcome of that I think are worth sticking around for. Let's just jump right into it. Here we are, Bad Runner's Take. Glad that you are with us today.
It's a bad runner's take. It's a bad runner's take. It's a bad runner's take. He's the Kipchoge of running back.
All right, Wolfie, here we go. The league. This started as something like, okay, it's been in the back of my mind. We're both just sort of like we were kind of going toward it naturally. And it's like, hey, something we want, like the race prices are too much. They're running less, but the heart of the runner, the heart of the competitor in all of us is still alive, no matter how old we're getting or slower we're becoming. We still have that drive to compete. And so it's like, hey, how can we do something that appeals to that? And so we've arrived at this trail running league. That was, in my mind, it's like akin to the church softball league. Like you still get out there, no matter how old you get, you're still competitive. You're still going for it. You're still swinging for it. I want that in trail. I would love to do that in trail. Even if I can't participate in year one in the league, I want to be part of bringing that to this community in our own way. So that's what we're going to talk about for a little bit. Does it sound like I've summarized it in a way that you would understand, or how would you encapsulate what we're working on here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, it just boils down to, guys and girls wanting to get together and be more competitive or be intentionally competitive in an environment, that's, about wins and losses. It's about, results, it's not about participation and pint glasses, right? It's we're there to have fun. And when we're done competing, maybe talk a little shit amongst each other, look to see who's dominating, who's not,
Yes.
Yeah. Have that fun environment that a lot of other sports have as hobbyists. And, I think it's time for trail running to do that. I'm tired of being jealous of other fans of sports. Yeah.
Even bowling gets it, like if you want to go bowl, you emerge as a winner. Like there's a winner and it's fun. And every other sport gets it. Why don't we have it?
Exactly. Yeah. And it just, again, the response, and it's one of the most popular ideas we've had. So, I think it's just a matter of time. I think we can be sloppy with the initial rollout. I think, your early adopters are going to be forgiving of maybe some growing pains. So we just have to figure out, you're the mastermind. So we got to figure out how we get this,
how we get from where we are to.
I'm Pinky, you're the brain. So we've got to figure this out.
That's the best compliment I've ever had. I tried to introduce my kids to Animaniacs recently. Boy, that show was, go back and watch it. I highly recommend. It was advanced. It was for the adults in the room as much as it was for the kids, but thank you for that compliment.
Yeah. So, what do you think? We've batted around a couple different ideas of exactly, how you bring this to life in a way that, isn't going to feel, too contrived or lose the spirit of the competition. So, I like the idea of it kind of being regional. I like the idea of uniforms, right? Like the things that make other leagues work. We need to make sure that they're part of the initial rollout as well.
Yeah. Let's talk non-negotiables. You kind of hit it on there, but what are the things, and I can even prepare, you can think as I go through mine, but what are the things for this league that you think, hey, no matter what, let's not worry about how much they cost. Let's not worry about anything. What are the things that this league has to have in order for us to think that season one is successful? I think being tied to a place to me feels really important. Like if I were able to start a team here in Paris, I want to be able for us to be able to be around our team. We don't necessarily have to be around those we're competing with, though. If there are two teams from Salt Lake City, it would be really fun to say, compete on the same day. And we still got to define what it means to compete, but compete on the same day on the same trail, like race each other, like go out there, if we're going to break this down into, we're going to have a speed test and we're going to have a climbing test or whatever. Well, send your two speedy folks out in the same moment, same time of day. But I think place, because I want to be the Paris Badgers, and I want Salt Lake, come up with your family friendly name. It's got to be somewhat family friendly. So I think place to me is among the most important. Second is that there is one winner. So those of you who've reached out and said, at least on the survey, and said, hey, I make this to where, everybody, they're not saying everybody wins. That's where my mind's going, but like make it to where everybody feels like, they've got something to be proud of. And I think everybody could be. However, the spirit of this league is that it competes and that there is one winner. If we do a men and women, if we had enough people and we did men, women, and co-ed, whatever division you're in, there will be one winner. That winner will get everything that we can come up with for prize money, brands, everything that we can throw into it goes to first place. Think about the Super Bowl. Second place just gets to be on the field with the winner. That's what they get. Maybe I know there's bonuses too, but point being, one winner and tied to a place. Those are two of my non-negotiables.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Ricky Bobby saying, right? I mean, second place is the first loser, right? I mean, so
yes,
winning's everything. And I think we definitely err on the side of celebrating the winners, in this league, and then we can always scale it out differently as it goes forward with some, some fun, lighthearted awards. Like maybe last place does get the lovable loser award, or something like that down the road, right? There's endless things that you could do for fun of it. But I think a non-negotiable is a predetermined schedule. I think a lot of us are going to be coming with a full life, balancing families, careers, and we've got to put this into an actual 5 to 10 match a schedule, so everybody can kind of make their plans accordingly. And that's going to, I think, be one of the biggest things that we're going to have to work with in figuring that out, right? Maybe it's a weekly competition, so it's not going to require everybody to show up at the same trailhead on the same day. You can go in and hammer your section out, upload it, you're good. And then, Josh, you got to go hit yours before Saturday. Otherwise we're going to be a DNF and we can't have that. So, something like that. Definitely a predetermined schedule of head-to-head matchups and, what it's going to look like.
Okay. That points to another one. I like head-to-head. I think that's why this works for me. Think of a regular season in football. The Cowboys are playing the Eagles this week. So I think head-to-head is important and it's fun. What that looks like yet, I still don't know. But there's a match. This week, it's Salt Lake versus Mesa, which I just even love saying that out loud. That would be so much fun. Yeah. So what is a match? That's a fun question to start to think about. I've thought about it a ton, but what makes it a match? I have my thoughts because I think you got to factor in what's the team size, and I don't want to bias you. So what's in your mind? What's a match? Yeah.
So I think adopting something like the cross-country scoring format is going to be the easiest. So everybody runs the agreed upon, segments in their local area, and then first place guys 1 point, and 10th place guys 10 points, and the team with the fewest points is the winner of that week. And then everybody scores. So whether you're 4th or 10th, you're critical to the team. Or you could always break it down like, maybe I was strategizing to have, every runner of every type available. So you could have a road section for guys who like training and running on roads. You could have a flatter trail section, and then you could have a trail section with an agreed upon vert. And so maybe you got a guy who's killer at climbing. He's going to hit that, or, you got a couple guys that are killer at climbing. They're going to hit that segment. Couple fast guys are going to hit the rolling trails, and then your speedy road specialist is going to rip a 5 to 10K on the road. I
love that. Yeah.
Maybe you look at this one being the team with the lowest total time for those three segments, and that's the winner. So Yeah, definitely still going head to head, but doing it in slightly different formats. And yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it's something where the format of the match can change week to week. Like one week it's cross country scoring, the next week we're doing 3 segments and it's total time. So it would all be again predetermined on the
Yeah.
schedule, so
Yeah. I mean, here's a fun way to think about it. Again, so head to head, let's say each team has a time trial specialist. I think of like road biking. So you've got your speedy person, like you talked about. I don't know if you can do climbing because I do in my imagination I see our Leadville team competing against our Miami team. So you really have to factor in like
yeah,
some hard stuff there. But I think okay, I want to have a moment where there's like your speediest person doing an agreed upon segment between those two captains, cleared by our commissioner. Yeah, we're just having fun here. And then we say, okay, this we agree on these 2 routes. Your speedy guy runs this route, our speedy person runs this route, and we will declare that as a good enough competition. I would love then also a moment where your whole team, ideally, and if it's our league, we can say it's mandatory. There's one segment where the whole team has to go out together that day and run. So you have a team segment moment and then you have individual pieces. So, and we're saying this is in a 7-day window. So if you're joining a league, you're committing. If you're putting the money forward, which we'll talk about that from the survey results about what it looks like people are willing to pay for something like this. But you've got to, so you're prioritizing, hey, Monday night is the night where our team goes out and we run our segment. And both teams have to do it on the Monday night at the same time. So you're not like just looking at the other person's results. So it's like, all right, Monday nights we get out and we do our team run. It's based on speed and agreed upon segment. And then you have your individual stuff throughout the week as well. And then, yeah, there's a cross country scoring. There's a head to head, piece that we score. And then there's a cross country for all of the rest of it. I don't know. That just sounds like fun. I like the idea of everyone going out together and everyone going out on their own.
yeah, I like that too. Because you want to try and create as much in-person team camaraderie as possible.
Yes.
So if
where you're wearing your jerseys together.
Yeah, totally. What else have I thought about? So some type of ability to, pull up on chats like this. So if you're going to be facing off against the Salt Lake, whatever we're going to call them,
yep.
Salt Lake Sea Dogs or something weird like a minor league baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be neat to have
Mudcats.
Mesa and Salt Lake have kind of like a group chat that's automatically generated, or some type of maybe a video meeting before the week starts, so you can kind of see your competition like you would if you were competing in real life, right? And
like an MMA match where it's like the weigh-in.
Yeah, exactly. So I think everybody kind of wants that too. They want to feel, the community is growing and they're putting some faces to names that they're competing against.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
And then somehow figuring out how to, I want to see how you can figure out to solve this. How do these results as they're coming through in the week get delivered and stay private, right? Because I don't think you want somebody to be able to make, multiple attempts on the same segment. You just get one attempt. So you don't get to see that the other team has, put up a score. And now you've got to go back and push harder. Like you get one attempt and you're done.
Okay. I think so. In my mind, I've envisioned a commissioner, and I reached out to my friend Ryan Ramsby about it. I think it's just funny. I was like, "This is funny. Just have this guy wear a suit every week and read the results wearing his suit." But we do probably need to consider a referee. So, does each head-to-head competition? Let's say we have 20 teams. Are we going to need? I don't know. I imagine a referee could handle a few different head-to-head matches, but you got to have someone who's overseeing maybe throughout the course of the competition.
Right.
And maybe they're ratifying. And then if there's a dispute, then it goes up to the commish.
Yeah. So we can figure all that out, but
I like that.
Yeah. I mean, what is
this? You want to hear some of the results?
What's that?
You want to hear some of the results from the survey?
Yeah. You've got all that behind the curtain.
Yeah. So, okay. At this point, we've had 100 people fill it out. Not going to get too geeky on the statistics. I don't know that we've truly achieved statistical significance yet. In fact, I'm confident that we haven't, based off of things like T values and P values and such. But what we do have is some interesting insights that I'll just share with everyone. And there's going to be follow-up, sis. And thank you to everyone who gave their emails that we could follow up with you. The most interesting thing is pricing, what people are willing to pay. I'll just say thank you to the person who thought that this was worth paying $600 for. We will not be charging that, but I think we've found, by and large, with the exception of a few grumpy Gusses, as we'll call them, who want this to be free. I mean, it just can't be free. We're talking referees. We're talking a commissioner. And indeed, if the commissioner does do stuff, mine and Brian's time. Like there's going to be a lot of back end stuff to facilitate this. So
we're not going to build
what's
it on the backs of volunteer labor.
Oh hell, we cannot do that after all the shit we've been talking. I actually said the same thing. If we're going to charge money, we're going to deliver value, and we're going to try and deliver value at we're going to like commensurate with the money that you've spent.
Correct.
So we are going to deliver that value, and then hopefully we will exceed those expectations. But we can't certainly, unfortunately, now profit too much off of this because we've been critical. Okay. So I'm just going to look at averages, which, those of you who know stats know that this doesn't tell the whole picture, but just to get you in the ballpark. Okay. And so I honed in on a specific demographic that I thought was interesting because it seemed like there was the most excitement here, and that's age 35 to 44. And I did male and female. The price that it seemed like, so first off, men are willing to pay more than double, almost exactly double, but if not slightly more. Men are willing to pay slightly more than double for this league than women are.
Wow.
And we're talking averages here, but we're talking in 35 to 44. So an interesting insight. Doesn't tell us everything about men, doesn't tell us everything about women. It just says, on average, a woman from this survey said that this is at $80, this would be considered cheap. And a man said at 160, this is exact, 160, that this would be cheap. So double there. And then exactly again, just about women said that this league would be expensive at 150. Men said this league would be expensive at 300. If we were to charge something like, and we're not planning to, if we were to charge something like $300, that would come with your jersey. That would come with a whole lot of stuff. We're not planning to do that. We don't know about the jersey stuff yet. We don't know any of that. But the reality is what we're looking at here is that what I'm seeing a lot of, and especially in this demographic of 35 to 44, that you're willing to pay for something like this. That's the bottom line takeaway, is that just about everybody put a number in there that, hey, a league that the assumption is that we're bringing value, but they're saying, hey, if you're bringing me value and I belong to this and this is something that matters to me, I'm willing to pay for it. So that was a good sign from the entrepreneurial standpoint, because that's one of the things you're looking for. Is you're not always looking for people to pay. You're initially looking to see if you can mobilize people into doing something that is valuable, but that everyone's willing to pay. That was cool. That was I was really happy to see that. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, and you're touching on the jersey. I think it's an absolute, must.
Yeah.
The jersey's included.
Yeah.
I've had a couple guys reach out who are, graphic designers by nature and logo designers. And so they've already wanted to help us in any way, and I think, when you're talking about, maybe 6 to 10 teams, you're going to have, kind of a heavy lift with getting some logos and jerseys put together. So we've got the resources there, and you take that into the league cost, and that way nobody has to worry about sourcing the jersey on their own. So we'll definitely be looking at doing that.
Yeah. That's fun. Okay, here's one. And we've talked about this a lot, but I wonder how important this is. Sometimes I think it's the most important thing, and sometimes I think, are we overthinking it? But it's the handicap. So if Salt Lake is playing Mesa this week, is the handicap necessary? Let's define it first. I'm gonna give an example of it, and then let's see if you can bring the definition. For golf, let's say I have a handicap of I don't even know how to word it, 15, and you have a handicap of 0. That would mean if you got 80 and I got 95, we tied. Is that true?
Yeah, that's So just straightforward, if we're playing a stroke play match, then we would tie it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there's other, you know, types of formats you can play where it's not that clean. I don't think we
Okay.
need handicap because, again, the
You don't think
comparison to
so?
golf with handicapping is if you're going to try and do this as a solo competitor league, the minute you throw teams in,
Mm.
you throw handicaps out. So
Oh,
there's not,
interesting.
when you're going to play a team match in golf, there's no handicap.
Uh-huh.
You're just playing a team match.
Okay.
Yeah, the team is the equalizer because you're going to
What's
have
the type of golf match where it's like whoever hits the best ball, that's what everyone goes and plays?
yeah, so best ball, exactly. So that's like a scramble. That's kind of great for like charity events where
Yeah.
you do have guys who are going to be all across the board in talent. And so,
Mm.
yeah, you're going to have everybody tee off and then you pick the best drive and then everybody hit the best shot to the green and you pick the best one and everybody hit a putt and somebody makes it. You make a three on the hole. So that's a scramble there.
Mm. Is our league, does it lend itself to a scramble vibe? I mean, like if
No,
we're, I guess that would be everybody would have to run the same round. You just pick the best one that week, but then one person could dominate the whole thing.
Yeah,
So,
no, you don't want to do that. No, that's where I think like cross country comes into play. That's great, or just total team time.
Yeah.
And so everybody's contributing to the team's success. And again, if you are going to be somebody that's obviously the team's fifth man, you're still critical. Like if I'm the team captain, I'm talking to my fifth guy and I'm telling him like, I got to have you this week, buddy. Like,
That's great.
you're
Yes.
you're the one that's got the biggest margins to improve on. Like, yeah, I know the A guy, the number one, he's going to go out there and throw down a time, but like I can only maybe milk 30 seconds out of him. I can probably get 3 minutes out of you if you just go down and throw an effort that beats the fifth guy over there. So,
Yes.
it's the fifth man is going against the other team's fifth man.
Yes.
We don't need
Okay. So I think what's awesome about that is because that was so unnatural for me to think that way, and maybe because I never did cross country or
Right.
anything, like, is probably we got to have a league orientation to like, and part of the league orientation, a Zoom thing everybody's on, is you're talking strategy. Like here's certain ways to think strategically, or as we're forming it to say, if you have a slow person, it's not a big deal. Every team's not. I mean, not everyone's going to have their best. You're going to have people that are in this order, but like you're saying, there's a way to think about the slow person being a contributor to your victory. They're not a anchor, slowing you down. They could still be a contributor. That to me is huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
I love that.
I don't think we have to handicap anything, at least not this early in trying to put the league out there. So that's not a hurdle that we have to worry about.
Yeah. All right. Here's a few other insights from it, because I got demographic info. Because when you're assessing stuff like this, you want to be able to drill into demographic sections. And I know some people who take surveys don't like it. And I think that's why we had a lot of drop offs in this one. I think 220 people checked it out. 100 finished it. The more that someone makes in income, just an interesting correlation, not causation, the more they make in income, the more interested they are in this league. And the more this is kind of funny, the more they make in income, the less interested they are in doing anything other than running. They don't want to be a captain. They don't want to administrate. The more money they make, the more they just want to get out and run. And they would rather someone else be the captain. I just found that to be an interesting thing to figure out. A lot of people, there were some people who were interested in administrating more than they were in running, which I think that's an interesting thing to look at too, because we're going to need that. We're going to build out the organization, especially if we do the referee thing. We're going to have to build out job descriptions for referees and then figure out how we're going to exactly accomplish that. But there's a chance here. Let's say optimistically we come out with 20 teams. Maybe we need 10 referees, and we do that. Commissioner role does become more important. And so those of you who are like, I don't really, not dying to run, but this sounds like fun. I want to help you. You will hear from us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So I think this is probably good for today. I think we're hopefully inspiring more people's imagination. I want everybody to call us. I'm going to play this song so it sticks in your head.
Call Run 649 649. That's 786 667 3649.
us about the league. Tell us stuff. Like, you can text us, sure, but we love the voicemails. Try and keep them under 60 seconds. We want to play them on here because we're going to work through this. We are running downhill on this idea. We love it ourselves, and it seems like you all are loving it. So call us and tell us anything about this episode that you liked or disliked, anything that you think would give us more. And of course, you can keep emailing, but love these voice messages. They're the best.
Are we anywhere near maybe putting a prospective season kickoff, like late April, or is that too soon?
No, for me, I'm looking at it as we record right this moment. It's February 17th. We'll probably release this sometime around like the 25th at the latest. I would hate to see us launch any later than May 1st.
Okay.
I mean, a spring kickoff. I think there, as an entrepreneur, the way that if you're not a little bit embarrassed, you've waited too long.
Right.
So, like, it's not going to be perfect when it goes out. But it does need to be good because this is going to take up a lot of people's time, not just the participants, but on our end to administrate. So we want to make sure we get pricing right. We want to price in a way that, we're giving value. People feel like they're getting value, but also that this whole thing is just awesome. So I would love to see this season 1 be in the spring, and thus be able to get feedback on that and pull off an even better season 2. So yeah, look for a launch in the spring. We'll probably, we've got to figure it all out. We got to open it up. When we open it up for registration, we got to have the whole thing dialed in. So that's just going to take time to build that website. Yeah, look in the next 45 days. If it's not up and live, I think I'd be sad. I think we can get there.
Awesome, man.
All right. The next fun thing that we've been working on here is the states debates. That is, as fans, we are really excited about Western States. It's the event. And even as I introduce this, I feel like, Brian, point 2 and point 3 are going to run together from Tarawera. But we have said, okay, we want to have like 10 to 12 debates between Brian and somebody else. I'll moderate. I'm not great on my toes. Brian's great on his toes. I want to facilitate a discussion, a debate. If it gets heated, that's even more fun. Leading up to Western States, so that the day that Western States arrives, we are more than we have ever been. And some of us have been, like me, I've been crazy stoked on Western States. And I want this to elevate that for new reasons than we have experienced in the past. One of the ways that Brian's conceived of this is like, hey, let's get these debates going. So debate number 1. What's debate number 1? And then we'll introduce who we think it's going to be. But the debate number 1 is
Western States, right? Is it going to continue to remain the premier 100-miler? Is that how we worded it? I want to make sure I'm still speaking.
Yeah, that it's the way. One of the ways that you'd worded it is that Western States is vulnerable.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I like that better. Right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I take the stance that Western States is truly, in a position of vulnerability as the premier U.S. 100-miler, just due to a whole host of reasons that I won't get into here in detail, because obviously a good debater never shows his hand. They don't want to give the opponent any sort of any quotes that he can go back and research and prepare for. So, but yeah, that's throwing it out there. And again, it's just the way that we want to bring more entertainment, and we want to kind of control some of the conversation, about states, and just do it in a way that's a bit more unique than what is traditionally out there during States Week. I don't want to have States Week anymore. I want to have States Month, States Quarter.
Totally,
whatever it is.
Deserves
it needs to take up a lot more time on the calendar. And that's what this will do. So, I think. I've talked on his podcast before. He reached out, kind of raised his hand and said, I'm always game to have a debate with you. And so I think we're going to get Troy from Mid-Packer Pod come along and see what he wants to say about the vulnerability of Western States. So, when he reached out, I thought we were talking about the Troy Award. I was like, how am I going to debate an award? Because his name is, actually – the second most popular Troy in trail running now. It's an award.
The second most popular Troy in trail running.
Yeah, so it's kind of ironic. You got a guy with a podcast called Mid-Packer Pod, and then they named award for the
Trail
greatest
runner of the
trail
year.
runner after him. So the irony of it.
Oh man. Well, Troy, if you're listening, good luck, because you should start preparing. So your position is going to be that Western States is going to undoubtedly remain the head. You can't come on this podcast in this debate and agree with Brian, because it can be easy to do. He'll make a point. You'll be like, oh, that's a good point. You're coming on this podcast to make the case for Western States in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years will indefinitely remain the 100-mile event champ. So stoked on that. I think it's going to be fun. Just as a teaser on the other states' debates and where this is all going, we'll have other topics, especially as the field becomes more clear. We'll have maybe, as you've said, Roach versus Walmsley debate. I think that would be a blast.
Yeah, those are the ones that are going to be real fun for the audience, I think.
Yeah. And then I think, I don't know exactly how you word it, but you've alluded to it, but I think this could be another fun thing that we facilitate, is that, first to the river, first to the summit, like all those sort of, like we're going to be placing, bets for fun, not real bets, but we'll have like prizes and stuff like that we could actually do that. So we have like an odds making episode or something like that. But you had the imagination for that first. Can you shed any light on what, how you think about something like that?
Yeah, we were just thinking typical prop bets like you see in, golf or any of them, right? So yeah, basically like head-to-head matchups or prop bets you can do, first to certain sections, you can get silly with it, right? Like, is it going to be a boat crossing year? Or is it going to be a swim year across, the river? So, how are we going to see a sprint finish on the track? You can have just a bunch of like first one up the escarpment, all of these things that we kind of always pinpoint as things in the race, and then you can just make it a prop bet out of it. And then what would be fun that I just kind of thought of right now with the Super Bowl recently happening is, you see a lot of people in workplaces get together with their squares, right? They fill out squares, and it makes kind of just people who don't even watch football all year excited to watch to see if they win a couple bucks, right? How do we come up with squares for Western States? Because I think that would be, super fun as well. I don't know if it's possible because it's all based on scoring, but if we could do something where, there is that, connection that if there's something that we can do where it makes it for the casual fan fun to follow and see if, what they got, pans out as a winner for a prize, I think that would be fun too.
What would be in the square for like the Super Bowl? So help me understand.
Points. So basically like, each axis there is like a number, 0 through to 9.
Okay.
And then, so at the end of the first quarter, if your Eagles have 3 and the Chiefs have 7, and your name is in that box, then you win.
I see.
$200 for that quarter. If you get the final score, you win, $1,000 or however big the squares were. So it makes it fun.
That would be fun.
Right.
I like that a lot.
So
lots of stuff planned. We're hoping to build momentum, and then as we're headed toward Roby House, which is still very much taking shape. In the end, I would say the spirit of Roby House is that we are looking to infuse ourselves into Western States conversation, and hopefully, and the week itself. But like Brian says, by the time the week gets here, our fans and followers of our podcast will be among the most ready in the country.
Or at least most excited. I'm not going to sit here and say,
there it is.
Yeah, we're not trying to give them a bunch of information and,
dollar
preparation. It's just going to be, they're going to be the ones fired up in the live chat, maybe dropping.
Fired up. That's a better way to put it. Our fan base, our followers, our people will be the most fired up.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I want to see them in the live chat, talking shit and saying like, Wolfie was way off. Look what just happened, or, looks like I got him on this one. This is how it panned out, or whatever the case is. Like they can be referencing back on race day, the fun stuff that we talked about.
I think we should have our our prop bets results happening in the live chat on the Western States feed.
Right.
That's where we're delivering those among all of that chaos in that chat. That would be funny.
Exactly.
Well, okay. So this bleeds, somewhat effortlessly into this final point here today, and that is the Tarawera results. And so we're talking about all this excitement, all this energy leading up to Western States, and then something happens at Tarawera that makes you think, well, it's maybe, it feeds your point of Western States. Is it vulnerable? But why don't you get going on this on Tarawera? It was fun. I was just as a casual fan. I'm always watching Hayden Hawks. Love seeing that dude out there. And I think the Hayden Hawks of Australia is Dan Jones. So the way that they dominated that race, that was fun. But talk about Tarawera.
Yeah. I mean, just on Hayden Hawks, yeah, exactly. He does these training camps out there with Dan Jones, and I mean, that's got to be awesome, man. To be, close with, a running buddy that you can go relocate your whole family over there, and crash with his family, and I mean, what a tight bond to have going into training for states. And yeah, he's decided. I think he's just going to race 50Ks leading up to Western to make sure his body stays healthy. So yeah, he went out there and he crushed the 50K, and Dan Jones took the course record and the victory there in the 100K. So, I mean, awesome. Geez, those guys are going to be deadly on States Day. So on the women's side, you had Ruth Croft. I think she had a pretty good battle all day. She was pushed from behind and I think got out a 6-minute victory, but immediately declined the golden ticket for Western States. And so, I had so many reactions to it, and it's like, you're bummed as a fan because you want to see her race against Katie, and then who knows what Courtney's doing. She's going to have all the miles from Cocodona in her legs, so we ideally would like to see those three who are arguably the top 3 women in the scene right now at states. And now it looks like we'll get Katie and a host of others who obviously are we're not knocking them for their talent, but Ruth Croft and Courtney and Katie are I think the alphas right now on the women's team. And for
why did Ruth decline it?
Yeah, so she basically said on Dylan's podcast there when she was talking with Corinne and Dylan, which kudos to them. They made the trek from Black Canyon immediately out to Tarawera. That's a heavy lift. So yeah, she just said that she thinks it's crazy that people do the state's UTMB double, and that she's only got one good 100-miler in her legs and more importantly in her mind, to get her mind right for UTMB after doing Western States. If she chose to do so, wouldn't be possible. And so, she's having to choose. And, this year she decided she wanted to go back to UTMB after her, incredible second place finish and rally last year. So,
yeah. I mean, so as a fan, it forces you to say, okay, she's not running it in, okay, good for her. She's going to do what she wants to do.
Yeah.
No, I'm not knocking that she's doing what she wants to do, but it forces you to go back into the spirit of the sport that is good, that we all love. It's like, hey, everyone's just having a good time out here. And I'm saying this in a negative way. It takes away from like, okay, Western States it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be excellent, but it's not going to have Ruth Croft at it. And so, you want to be able to declare who is the best this year. And in order to do that, as it's always your point, the best have to be competing against the best on the same train on the same day in order to really be able to get clarity around that. And as a fan, I want clarity around that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it kind of, it checked my mindset as well as the sport professionalised, like, I think, guys, like on the road scene for marathons, they only run like two quality marathon majors a year. And so we've got this head mindset because we're coming into that, like we're coming from the 2015 era where like guys were racing, 15 races a year, right? Like 500 or beyond, right? And it's like, no, like, like that is crazy. Like she should be able to choose which 100-miler she wants to do and not just be obligated that she has to do both because she's talented enough to do both. And I think as the sport professionalizes, you're going to start seeing more and more professionals racing less. And it's going to keep putting Western States in an awkward position, so again,
so here's interesting.
I don't want to get into the debate with Troy quite yet right there, but
well, here's an interesting observation, and maybe I'm getting there too, but I'm the moderator, is we've seen Jim pass over Western States for UTMB to get hyper-focused on it before, and now we see Ruth Croft. Has anyone passed up on UTMB for the sake of Western States? It's not as obvious. They're not going to say it because it happens first. But I've seen, you've seen maybe someone run it and then not and have a poor UTMB, or maybe they change their mind. I think it's only when they skip Western States that it's known, because it's like, why isn't Wait, why aren't they at Western States?
Well, right.
But
Exactly.
yeah, I don't know. Has anyone chosen Western States over UTB? I'm sure they have. It was not as newsworthy, I suppose.
Yeah, I think just because the races are flip flopped on the calendar, like you can,
Yeah,
yeah, you can do Western States and allow yourself kind of the option to see how the body recovers, and then still go try and do UTMB. And if you drop, you drop. Um, I don't know anybody that's made a career out of doing Western States and not doing UTMB.
right.
So, I mean, you
Yeah,
look at somebody like Killian. Killian hasn't ran Western States in what 14 years or something crazy. So, like, I mean, there you go. I mean, you've got the goat of you know international trail racing,
right.
and he hasn't come back to
Haven't
states.
chosen it.
Yeah,
Well, none of this is to throw shade on Ruth Croft. It's actually the inverse
oh
from
yeah,
from us saying, "Oh, dang it," would have loved to have seen her there. But also, if it's as a fan, you don't get one Super Bowl a year. Like I look at Western States and UTMB, I get giddy for both, and in very different ways. But yeah, I love it when the runners that I love do both. I love seeing Jim at both because it gives me twice a year to get just amped for those runners that I love. It would be fun to see Ruth Croft there, but best of luck at
yeah,
UTMB. We'll miss you.
yeah. It'll be an exciting race. I mean, that's kind of what makes states unique, and is a point that I'm sure Troy will make is that no individual runner or field is bigger than the race itself.
Yeah.
So states will always be exciting. It'll always draw a competitive field, even if it doesn't have, the top three that you want to see going up against each other every year.
Yeah, and so then I wonder if at some point, we're used to this. Every course record keeps getting destroyed, and maybe Western States is poised for that again this year with David Roach. I don't know, but eventually, I think then on that line chart, like it's been up and to the right, but I think it's going to plateau, and then it's going to go, down and to the right because it's not going to always have the best and the brightest.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's always kind of like cliche to say, and maybe some years it's true, but like you always hear like in the media space again, like, oh, I'm so excited for the women's field this year, right? Like I don't think we can say that in honesty this year. Like the women's field is what it is. It's great. It's got tons of talent. They're going to go out there and put on a race that's going to be entertaining. But when you've got Walmsley, Hayden, after what Dan Jones just did at Tarawera, running like a 7:17 out there in
Roach.
heat. And then you got Roach and then you got Farvar coming back. I mean, the men's field is.
This might be the first race in a long time where we can say this one's about the men's field.
Yeah. And let's not be shy to say that. Like it's not
because we've been very intellectually honest to say that it hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah.
And so now that it potentially is, yes, let's be loud about that. Right now, that's looking fun.
Exactly. So we're getting fired up, man. And if they can, if Killian gets in and Vincent from UTMB, I mean, that would just be
what a day.
Over the moon for international depth and the names who have most recently done things at the biggest race. So fingers crossed.
That's great. All right. Well, hey, this has been a good one. I'm stoked on the league. I'm stoked on the states debates. I'm stoked on Western State. I mean, all this sort of stuff. I'm stoked on watching the results of Tarawera last week. I look forward to doing this again. You join me and do this again sometime?
I think we'll do it. Yeah. I look back at like our emails, man. We kicked off conversation like in maybe July or August.
Yeah.
Where
we at?
Last year, so this Bad Runner Take, gig has been going on for some time. We celebrated 10 episodes of Wolfie's World. And so, we've got some runway behind us.
We've got some history now. Yeah. We're getting to be veterans.
We almost got an anniversary to celebrate. Where are you taking me to dinner?
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll meet in Salt Lake.
There you go.
In May. All right, man. Take care.
Take it easy.